Hi guys, I have some unfortunate news today. I am quitting Disney Sorcerer's Arena, and I wanted to do this last video to kind of share some of my reasons. Really, I don't want it to be too negative. Like, it might come across as pretty negative at first. I'd weight most of the reasons as I'm quitting the games due to my personal reasons, like my mental health, my finances, things like that. But I'll touch on problems with the game, which have, ultimately, like, I have fallen out of love with the game. I'm less driven to play it. Like, so there's obviously a huge number of game factors that are in play as well. So I can't really ignore them. And then and then I'll just touch on, like, there will be positives. I'm going to talk about the positives, what I think this game has done and what it's done for me, and I'll touch on those kind of towards the end, and then what's going to happen with my YouTube channel and what I'm going to do next. So let's start with why I'm quitting. The main reason I'm quitting is personal reasons, is my mental health. I'd say, like a lot of people, COVID has really turned their worlds upside down, and these past 2 years have been the toughest of my life. Like, I've been in some really dark times, and I thought that this game was a kind of an escape, really, but deep down, I think I knew it was contributing a little bit to my mental health problems and kind of exacerbating them at times. So over December, actually, like, I've noticed, like, I've actually been more outgoing and seen friends, and I stepped down from, like, my leadership role in Endgame, and I realized that I was kind of less and less playing the game naturally because I didn't have people relying on me as much, as you've got in a leadership role. But I found myself naturally playing the game less, which is a good thing. But at the same time, like, I just wasn't driven to play at all. I've not been driven to play. The only reasons I kind of been playing is probably these leaderboards. My club's probably noticed that I've been pretty rubbish on dailies and things like that. But yeah, it's this. I've not been driven to play the game, and yeah, it kind of stems to my mental health in the sense that I started to do things in my real life that just kind of made me realize that I've been kind of keeping myself isolated for too long. So mental health is one. The other thing is money. This game is extremely expensive. I'm not going to tell you how much I've made, but I'm not going to tell you how much I've spent, but it's well into the thousands. And I don't have a job right now. I actually quit my job back in August to try and to actually improve my mental health. And what I found is I carried on spending to the level I was spending, but without the income coming in. And it's, when I actually look at my finances now, I realize, like, just how expensive this game is, really, just, and for what it is. I've completely fallen down the trap of microtransactions. It's kind of absurd when you actually put everything into perspective, and it's games like this that really kind of prey on the consumer, on the customer, to think a person can spend thousands and thousands of pounds on a mobile phone game and it actually be okay. It just doesn't sit right. It never really sat well with me, but I never noticed as much because I was earning at the time. And I obviously then made the YouTube channel, like, actually whilst I was working. It was never going to be a form of income. I didn't really know how I could grow it and how well I could grow it, and I'm not a top editor. So it was just a bit really, I just kind of did it to sort of help people in the game and see what I could do with it. I never sort of made a Patreon or anything like that. I know some club mates told me to do that, but it just felt it didn't feel like the right thing to do. But I've certainly seen that without any money coming in, it's hard to sustain this level of spend. And unfortunately, because I've been spending so much to stay at the top, it's so hard to go from the top to, well, in my experience, I found it very hard to go from being at the top of the sphere in the game to then dropping down and not spending. Naturally, this month I haven't really spent much because I've not really been playing, but it does feel weird going into the game and not like buying the stuff I normally do. So yeah, the money's been a kind of another big thing. I'd say money and the mental health side have probably played the biggest factors, really. If we move on to problems with the game, the game, in terms of positives, and I said I'll get to them, the game has actually turned it around for me in the sense that it's become, the developers listened and made big improvements. The last raid I thought was fantastic. I like the leaderboards idea, even though there's a bit of controversy about them. The sort of scaling damage, at least the scaling damage allows you to really execute amazing strategies, whereas leaderboards with a ceiling, if you just get the character to gear 9 that does a max damage from a Barley book, crit power up, crit, and an offense up, then it's just not... there's not much strategy to it, so I have really enjoyed the recent leaderboards. I'll get to that actually on a separate point, but in terms of my issues with the game, so one of the game modes I really loved for a long time was Conquest, and unfortunately, being in aim game, our opponents don't play Conquest. That's a decision for them. I think actually the only one that they've played against us was one where I'd gone out. I think it was between sort of Christmas and New Year's, and I'd gone out drinking, so I wasn't even prepared for it. And that's the only Conquest we've had, kind of effectively competitive Conquest. And for me, the Conquest as a game mode, it was where I got to use my whole roster. Now, a lot of people don't like it. I think there's so many flaws with it, don't get me wrong. I was really excited for 2v2, for a 1v1. I thought the old format didn't really work, but I've seen that it doesn't work in this format either, because if your opponent doesn't play, then you're never going to have a competitive game mode, really. There's definitely things I think can be improved with Conquest. I think for one, the amount of time that goes into it. I noticed when I was in leadership, like, because I was setting defenses, putting a lot of time in work into changing people's teams and optimizing teams. That's actually a bit I really enjoyed about the game, weirdly enough. But a lot of time went into it, and then on the day you're spending hours and hours checking your phone and making sure that you're you're on the ball, because it's a time-based game mode, really. You can't just, it's not a simple, you just clear the board and then you're done. You clear the board and you've got to hold the board. So it really takes a lot of time out of people, and this is where I think the opponents that we faced, I think this is where where it falls down for them, because it is exhausting, and I can see why you won't want to play it. I think 2 times a week is a bit too much, especially when it's completely stayed the same. There were so many things they could have done as well. You could have changed the towers, changed the multipliers. We didn't have to have Toy Story mythicals and onward. Like, it could have been, you could have put an Incredibles tower in for just make it interesting, change it up. I also think changing it to like where it's not time based and you literally just have to clear teams efficiently. I think that would probably be a better game mode, because it wouldn't require as much time and thought, and people can kind of attack when they want to and then not have to be scheduled. But anyway, so Conquest is a big reason, really, in terms of like game reasons, because it was a game mode I loved, and when you don't get to play it, like it's just and I don't think it's to some extent, I don't think it's just our opponents. I think like this is a problem kind of a lot of places. Like a lot of clubs don't enjoy it or don't really try. So that's one. Showdown. So I played a game called Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and they had an amazing game mode called Galactic Arena, GAC. Galactic Arena? Grand Arena. And it was where you would basically have a 1v1, kind of like a Conquest, but not where you would hold territories. You would just clear them, and it would be about who does it efficiently. I thought there was just such an obvious choice of a game mode for this game, and instead we got Showdown. Now I like Showdown. I do think it's fun, but it's just incredibly flawed. It's a flex on purchasing power at the end of the day. It's who has money to really pay for these refreshes, and it's kind of obscene still. Like you hear people saying they made it cheaper than what it was. Maybe because I'm not a Kraken who spent on it when it was like when there were fewer refreshes, but they were way more expensive. But I know some people who have spent all like the maximum amount of money on each what's the word? The maximum amount of money on each like stage phase. And it's still thousands of pounds, like thousands of dollars, like it's insane. So it's not really a true competition to me in that sense. Like it's fun and it's got great rewards, don't get me wrong. And it's really cool to see characters at their peak. I thought the last Showdown was really great in terms of actually being able to use the characters at Gear 9. I thought that was a really good step, but it's just not a competitive game mode to me. I think that there are real big flaws with it in the sense that you can just be extremely unlucky, really, in who you get partnered with. If you get someone who's like stacking 5 of the best units 5 matches in a row, like in the last one we had like Esme, Shere Khan, Jafar. Some people were using them all on one team, and you face them 5 times in a row with like an average team. Now, I don't care what anyone tells you, they're not going to beat that team, so it's actually going to affect them. There needs to be some kind of balance with it, where they tier like the characters. Like, for example, Esme, Shere Khan would be in tier 1, Mordu would be in tier 2, so you can only pick like 1 or 2 of the characters from each tier to have in your team. I think that would just kind of make it a bit fairer, and then get rid of this refreshes idea. It's not going to make the money, but I guess to make a competition fair and see who really is the best at the game. I know I'm not saying this because I think I could win it. I'm saying this because it would just be nice to see like a free-to-play account really competing with like a Kraken, and seeing if they could take them on, really, because there are a lot of really smart players that are free to play. So that's my thoughts on Showdown. PvP is just incredibly tedious and boring now. The game mode is stale. It's not changed. All it is just lump a bunch of legendaries together, or legendaries and Tiana together, and you're going to win most of your matches. Now, in fairness, there is a bit of like diversity, but I just find myself getting extremely annoyed. Like, I pretty much princesses are dominating PvP right now, so I pretty much have a team which can just beat princesses. It loses to most everything else, but it kind of gives me the satisfaction of beating them like 100% of the time. They need to change that game mode. It's just boring. It's lackluster. The rewards suck. There's no real incentive to play it. So, and I found myself becoming quite a bitter player, really. And then other game modes. I'll get to this. I've really enjoyed the raids. The new raid was fantastic, but I know I'm kind of going down the negatives route, so I'll probably just round them up before I hit the positives. But yeah, the raids and the leaderboards are great. And other problem with the game mode, really, bugs. There's so many bugs in the game, and you don't know when they're fixed. Like, they used to communicate when they fix bugs. They haven't been doing that for, I don't know, the longest time. I don't really understand why. But there's some really obvious bugs in the game. There are some that are beneficial, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to point them out in this video, but there's some really annoying bugs, like the Elsa bug, the stasis bug. You can just break stasis with Moana. The fact that you can land debuffs through stasis or extend them, it's not right. So, well, maybe extensions through stasis is normal. I don't know, but it just doesn't feel right, really, that you should be able to land debuffs through something that you previously couldn't. Either change stasis the way it works and actually update it to allow that, or treat it as a bug, which to me it is, and change it back to how it was before. There's so many other bugs in the game that I'm not going to touch on, but it obviously ruins the experience. And if you're trying to play it competitively, then it can kind of ruin it for you. Showdown, I lost 5 matches because my Showdown timed out, which, if I cared about Showdown more, I think I would be really frustrated. If I was shooting for the top spot, I'd be really annoyed. But yeah, and then what else? This next one is a difficult one because there's definitely massive positives to the community, but there's also, it can be a bit toxic at times. And I felt that I've seen a side of me, and this kind of brings back to my mental health. I've seen a side of me that I don't like playing this game. Just getting wound up really easily by silly things that I shouldn't really be getting wound up by. But I think this community can be amazing, but it can also be pretty stupid at times, for a lack of a better word. There are egos. There's in a game that it could be competitive, but it really isn't. Like, you just think, just leave your ego at home. I wish people could be more helpful. That's why I made my YouTube. I just wanted to be helpful. I think it's better when we're working together, not against each other. And I feel like there's certain areas where you can be competitive, and, like, for example, the leaderboard. I have no issues with people like keeping strategies to themselves if they found them. Fair play to those who found them, and it's cool that you came up with it. I don't like the trolling that comes with it, like people deliberately trying to throw people off. Like, you're actually people are putting hours and time into the game. It sucks when someone's leading you the wrong way, like haha, great one, really funny. But yeah, the community, and then the way that Glue handles situations, I think a certain level of favoritism goes towards certain players. There are definitely backdoor conversations, and certain players are finding out information before others. I'm not going to touch on that more. I just know that happens, and it sucks, really. Like, as someone who's spending thousands of pounds in the game, you feel more valued in your contributions, and You don't even need to spend like heaps of money. You can spend heaps of time in the game, really. And it just, if players kind of know what's coming, it's just not right, really. And I do want the game to flourish. Like, I imagine that these conversations are happening with people to keep them happy and to keep them playing. But yeah, I just don't like it, really. Finally, the competitiveness in the game. As someone who is competitive, there's certain elements which kind of make it non-competitive for me, really. One is as I said, the purchasing power when it comes to like something like Showdown. The other is there's a just inbuilt mechanic for the coin flip in PvP, right? Which is if you lose the first coin flip in a PvP battle, like let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say like you're running like a princess team. The opponent has beast. Let's just, for example, you've just used Sugar Rush. You've got all of your characters ready to go before his, because effectively it's pushed them to the front of the queue. Now Beast would intercept that because he would gain the turn meter. And what happened is Beast would get his go, and let's say the other person has Sugar Rush. The other person then uses Sugar Rush, right? So everyone is sitting at 100% turn meter now. What happens is, because Beast won, all the other team's characters are going to sit on 100% turn meter and go before yours, even though yours is sitting on 100% turn meter. That's just the way the coin flip works. It favours one player consistently throughout the match, and how can you ever have something competitive, really? And maybe the argument is DSA isn't competitive for that reason. But it really is annoying. It just kind of rigs PvP to an extent. There's always going to be a heavily disadvantaged player in that sense. Right, I don't want to I don't want to kind of continue in those are my game issues. I want to touch on the positives. Now, I talked about the game modes. I do think the game is extremely healthy right now. I think the raid was fantastic. Like, it really was a step in the right direction for me, because I was full disclosure, this has been a battle for me, like trying to quit the game for like I'd say months now, and there's always been one thing that's kind of stopped me from quitting, and the last thing was probably the last big thing was probably the raid. I was ready to hang up my boots, but the raid was amazing. It really brought communities together. It sparked life into the raid server again. So, and it was just really well done. I think it might have been a bit too easy. You ultimately couldn't cheese it. You can now. There are strategies out there that can cheese it, but they really made you work for it, and I think they designed it really well. The leaderboards, as I mentioned, I really enjoy them. Even if I don't win them, like it's just cool to see that people are playing. And these are leaderboards. These aren't like the pass holder leaderboards, the crap where you just spend. It's basically a spender's game. These are the ones where you can like, there's kind of no cap on the damage you can do. It's just about finding the strategy to execute that. I think they're really fun. So I like those. I think there are amazing communities out there. I'm going to touch on the multiverse now. The multiverse is where Endgame is a part of. There's like 9 or 10 clubs, and it's just such an amazing space. It's kind of led by Lola Emma, Captain. She keeps changing the name. Captain America, Stacy, and Minnie and Deadpool, who kind of admin the server, and it's put together in a way where all the communities just kind of, all the clubs just kind of work together. The leadership chat's great. The general chat's great. There's been no fallouts. Like, there really hasn't. It's just a really safe space, really awesome place, and just an amazing community to have been a part of. Then there are other communities out there as well. I really like the Atlanteans community. I think the Wicked Magic Alliance, in terms of what they did for the raid as well, they've put together the raid server, the like mind tricks and Raw and whatever they've done for the community in terms of trying to bring solutions to the raid and get other clubs across the line. I think it's fantastic. So generally, I think they've got really strong communities. I mentioned there's I did mention there's toxic elements, but to the toxic elements, there obviously a really the counterpoint is there just really strong communities out there. The guys that watch my videos and reach out to me in Discord and say nice things and stuff, that's so nice to see. Just to know out there that there's an appreciation and what I've always been trying to do is help people. I feel like this video is going on forever, so I do apologize for taking a long time to go through it. I think the last thing I think really is just, I guess, shout outs like to my club Endgame. I've got loads of friends in Endgame, and I don't plan on leaving Discord, like the Multiverse Discord. I plan to stay there, and I just think Endgame, like I'm obviously biased because I used to be in leadership there. We have a really awesome group. The leader, Lola Emma, or Stacy, she's fantastic. She's been my biggest supporter, pretty much since I started playing. She's just always been there for me. Fantastic friend, and just huge shout out and thank you for all the support you've given me. I've obviously got I think the leadership team in Endgame is fantastic. In general, and I've got some really close friends in the club, and just as I say, like there's always good vibes. Really, there's always good chat there, and so massive shout out to my club mates and the multiverse, really. Okay, like lastly, she's nearly a 30-minute video. I hope you've stuck with me. So the last thing I'm going to sort of talk about is what's going to happen with the channel. I'm not going to... This isn't the end of it, really. And I'm also going to never say never on kind of returning to DSA. I am officially quitting. There's no me returning this time. Like, I quit the game previously, but it was more just like a break. This is official. But I'm not closing I guess I can't close the door fully. I might, basically never say never in that sense. I certainly won't be making videos on it for as long as I don't play. And then in terms of where I want to go, I obviously am a gamer. I really like gaming, so I'm gonna probably stick, maybe try some new stuff out. I don't know what yet. Something that I've been really into the last couple of months is blockchain and crypto gaming. I love the idea of like play to earn, and that's something I want to be exploring maybe with this channel. There's a couple of games out there that I've seen that look kind of cool, like Dayton Arena as one of them. There's another one coming out soon called Sin City. I might be looking into playing that one as well. So that's maybe what I'm going to do with the channel. But unfortunately, that this is the end of the road for DSA for me. I wanted to take my time to say a big thank you to everyone who supported me. Considering I haven't sort of churned out too much content, it's been a great journey. I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the kind of video editing. I'd love to be better at it. Like it kind of baffles me what people are able to do, and I just kind of have no idea where to begin with that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll get better at that at some point. But yeah, big thank you to everyone who supported me and being on this journey with me. And yeah, just want to say I hope you all. I don't want anyone to like quit because of this kind of video. This is just my reasoning. If it rings true with you, then that's fine. But this is the end of the road for me, and yeah, I want to say big thank you to everyone involved, and I can't say I'll see you in the next one with this one, but we'll see where it goes. Thank you guys.